Hello, economics students. We've talked about scarcity. We've talked about opportunity cost. We've talked about utility. And today we're going to be talking about the production possibilities frontier model, or what's also known as the PPF model. There's a lot to understand on this one, so make sure that you read your textbook about the PPF model. And this is addressing Learning Targets 1B in your Learning Target packet. So, what is the PPF model? Oh, by the way, be sure to pause and take notes to write down the graphs, because remember, your notes are open notes for quizzes and tests, which is coming up. So the PPF model shows the amount of goods and services that could be produced in an economy. It is used to show both the choice that an economy uses to make their decisions about what they're making, as well as the opportunity cost that an economy makes, because resources are, as you know, scarce. So let's say we have the opportunity to make cookie dough or fresh baked cookies. We can start with 20 units of cookie dough and have 0 fresh baked cookies. Okay, that's point A. At point B, when we have 16 units of cookie dough, we have 4 cookies. This is a linear progression in this particular model. So as you can see, point C is 12 and 8, point D is 8 and 12, point E is 4 and 16, and when we have 0 units of cookie dough left, we have 20 fresh baked cookies. So, efficiency. This is when our resources are used to the maximum. So let's talk about what that looks like on the PPF. It is when you are following this line. So if you are making 8 cookies and you have 12 units of cookie dough, that is thought to be an efficient production of cookie dough. So anytime production is taking place at a spot on the production possibilities curve, it is efficient. What trade-offs are illustrated by the graph? So eating more dough means fewer baked cookies. Okay, so if you go ahead and you eat the dough, you're going to have less cookies available. Baking more cookies means less dough is available. So these are the trade-offs. So what is the opportunity cost then of moving from point B to point C? So at point B, we have 16 units of cookie dough and 4 cookies. If we go to point C, we actually lose 4 units of dough, but we gain 4 cookies. So 4 balls of dough is the opportunity cost from moving from point B to point C. We lose 4 balls of dough. Underutilization occurs when a resource is being wasted. So that means when we look at a production possibilities curve, point G here means that there's an underutilization of resources. We're only using 8 balls of cookie dough and we're making 4 cookies. This is far below what the potential is for production of both dough and baked cookies. So underutilization then is going to take place inside the production possibility curve, such as we see on point G. Unattainable. This is when we have scarcity that will not allow us to go outside of the curve. So we maybe think we want more of the resource, but we can't have it. So if we look at point H here, we don't have enough cookie dough or enough baked cookies to make 16 balls of dough and 16 cookies. It's outside of the production possibilities curve. So we call that unattainable. So remember, attainable down here was point G. Point H is unattainable. Okay, which point on the curve is optimal? We don't actually know because we do not know what society values the most. This is what marketers have to determine. The goal is ultimately to produce on the curve and be efficient, but depending on what the people want and what marketers make us think we want, that is going to affect where on the production possibilities curve we actually land. So now, how can we get the PPF to move what we call to the right or outwards? Well, this would imply that there is growth in the economy. So that is an example right there where you can see that we've got, we would probably have more than 20 balls of dough. But if you look here, we have 16 balls of dough, 12 cookies, whereas before with 16 balls of dough, we only had 4 cookies. So what can possibly move us to the right? Economic growth. Okay, so this comes by acquiring more resources. Maybe in the example of the cookie dough, we discover additional sugar, butter, and eggs that we need to make a cookie and to make the dough. And we have an increase in population. So we have more people that can make the cookie dough because we have more natural resources. Or maybe someone has created capital, a machine that can actually increase the speed of the production, even if there isn't an increase in population. Perhaps there's more education and training, investment in human capital, and this can be tremendously effective for growing the economy as well as just advances in technology. Of course, the opposite can be true. Our economy can diminish or it can shrink if we use up natural resources. If we do lose a portion of a population. During the COVID-19 shutdown, the economy shrank because people were laid off of work because they were actually couldn't go to work by law because of the shutdown of certain businesses. So what does the PPF actually show? First of all, it shows efficiency. Are we using all resources to maximum productivity? Growth. Are we increasing or decreasing our production? Cost. What is the opportunity cost of our decision? So, learning target 1D, I'm sorry, I said B before, but I meant D. This is chapter 2, section 5 of the text. I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to read that after we finish with the screencast today. So the production possibilities frontier is a table or graph that shows the full employment capacity of an economy in the form of the possible combinations of two goods. A lot of times in economics, they've used the combination of guns and butter, but really any two bundles of goods that could be given or produced with a given amount of productive resources and level of technology can be mapped on a production possibilities frontier. So let's take a look at this one, soybeans and corn. Now, I have a daughter-in-law and her father has a huge farm, like 2,000 acres, and he actually rotates his corn and soybean crops every year, and then he has part of his land go what we call fallow, where so it can kind of recreate or its nutrients. But let's say that we're a hobby farmer on a 1-acre field. Let's use the graph to fill in the production possibilities frontier. Now, if you don't have graph paper, that's okay. You can sort of just estimate by hand how you want to do this. So if you have 150 bushels of corn, you're going to have 0 soybeans, and we see that marked here. At 135 bushels of corn, we have 40 bushels of soybeans. At 100 bushels of corn, right about here, how many bushels of soybeans would you expect that we have? And we'll look at how to do that in a second. At 80, we have 70, and at 0, we have 80. So we take the points that we know that we have, and we draw a curve to reflect the production possibilities frontier. Notice in the last example we had, it was linear, it was a direct line, but this one is more realistic. It's probably going to be, for the most part, a curve. So if we take that 100, we go over here, we're going to see that approximately 65 bushels of soybeans can be produced when you have 100 bushels of corn. So think about what would make you want to perhaps plant more bushels of soybeans than of corn or vice versa. You have to think of the values that you have and perhaps the monetary gain that you might have. Now, I don't know how many bushels my son's father-in-law makes of each of these. I would guess it's like a huge amount since he has so many acres of land. But I know that part of his decision making is what the market is paying for corn versus soybeans. So that is our lesson on the production possibilities frontier. And I would, again, as I mentioned, go back and read your textbook, and you should be getting through your learning targets. I will write them down on the assignment for today. Thank you very much. Bye.